So I have a question for you. And the question is, what is it that causes Peter to sink as he's trying to walk on water? Well, science, right? Right, that's one way. Others, I heard lack of faith, doubt, scared, distracted, frightened. Yeah, you agree? I've read this gospel many times, and you've heard this gospel many times. Trying to disciples and Peter trying to walk on water and sinking and drowning, and the usual message is, well, do not be afraid. You have little faith, right? Have faith. Do not be afraid. But I don't know if you actually heard the gospel. Before Jesus says, do not be afraid, what does he say? You just heard it, yeah. Yeah, take courage, it is I. Do not be afraid. And courage, or the lack of courage, I think, is what causes Peter to sink. And courage is kind of like this precursor before do not be afraid. Because if you just tell yourself, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, don't be afraid, you're going to be afraid. And you're going to sink. Courage is that strength to choose to act while still being afraid. And I think many of us, we have endless potential to be great, to be successful, to be joyful, to grow in our faith. A lot of times, what gets in the way is this lack of courage. Or take courage, it is I, as you heard from Jesus. And there's countless examples of courage throughout the scriptures. And your homework this week is to ask Jesus for the gift of courage. But what type of courage? There's many types of courage. And I want to talk about, 4 types of courage, but there's more. But if you look at scriptures, one type of courage is to face the past. The courage to face the past. If you look at scriptures in the Old Testament, Moses faced a lot of insecurity. Who am I that I should go out go to Pharaoh and bring the children of Israel out of Egypt? But Moses faced his insecurities, faced his past, overcame his doubts to do great things, even help part the Red Sea and escape. One of my friends, he's 45. Is that middle age now? I don't know what it is. But 45, a good friend of mine. He's in and out of relationships. He's sometimes he's on a relationship, off, on and off, on and off. But time's kind of ticking. 45. Some will say that's even too late to get married, right? But the thing with him is he can't face his past, which is he's always blaming the other person. Oh, Steve, the last relationship didn't work out because she was bad in this and she was bad in that. And it's like, okay, that's fine. What about the one before? Oh, no, she was bad in the other one. Oh, okay, all right. So is there a pattern here? You're always blaming the other person. Have you thought about yourself? Could it be that maybe you have something to work on? Can you actually think about these relationships? Can you actually have the courage to face the past? Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what is it that I need to do to change? Sometimes it's the courage to face impossible situations. You all know the story with David and? That's right, Goliath. The courage to go to battle with a giant. His courage comes from the fact that God has always been with him and will always protect him. But even the courage to face impossible situations. I was thinking of, many of you know, Elon Musk. He's crazy. Some people like him, some people hate him, all these things. But one thing that he does not lack is courage. Because I saw this one interview, and they asked him, hey, so you got all these companies, all these successful companies like the SpaceX and the Tesla, all these things, and when you were starting out these companies, did you envision it to be as successful as it is now? And he's quiet, and he responds, to be honest, I thought all these companies would fail. So why in the world would you start a company that you think will fail? Because if you know his story, he made his money from PayPal. You know the PayPal company? And he went all in to the point of he almost went bankrupt. And he says, well, I thought, it was most likely going to fail, but somebody got to try. Somebody got to do it. Call him crazy. But the courage to face impossible situations. 3 years ago, 3 years and change, when I had my previous role as a school principal, when I started July 1st in Alameda, St. Joe's. And when I started, I had to fill 7 teaching positions and several other staff positions. So over 10 staff and faculty positions. Do you know how hard it is to find teachers? That was July 1st. When does school start? August, like mid-August. I went to my room and cried by myself. I said, this is impossible. How do I do this? And can you imagine school starting? It's a private Catholic school. Why am I paying for education when you have no teachers hired? How does that work? It's impossible. But I asked Jesus for the what? Courage. Not courage for me. Whenever I'm faced with very difficult, impossible situations, I ask for help. Not just from Jesus, but from the nuns. I don't ask for my brother priest to help me out for prayers. I go directly to the holy people. I go to the nuns, the ones who are like super cloistered. And I say, hey, listen, mother this or sister that. Hey, you have me waking up 6 a.m. to help you with Mass. I'm cashing in my chips. Get on your knees and pray for me. we need some work. But this is impossible. Long story short, August, when school started, through the grace of God, all the positions were hired. Impossible situations. Or sometimes it's taking a risk. If you look at the story of Esther, Esther risked her life to save her people. She asked for the gift of courage to persuade the King Xerxes to protect her people. And sometimes it's very difficult to, put yourself out there or take a risk. One of my recently graduated high school students, she, all times you ask the teenagers, hey, what do you want to do? What do you want to be when you grow up? And there's this kind of like weird dynamic going on because, the parents, you say you want your children to be whatever you like, correct? Follow the stars, do whatever you like. My mom always told me, Steve, you could do whatever you like. You could achieve anything that's possible, but it needs to be doctor, lawyer, engineer. That's so like Asian, But this one high school graduate I was trying to counsel, she says, Father Steve, I want to be an actress. I want to go to New York and I want to be in the Broadway shows. That's my goal. That's my dream. And if you're the parent, what would you say? Oh, Grace would say no. You're very practical. You say, go ahead. Go ahead, and when you're broke, don't call me. But the courage to take a risk. And I said, hey, why don't you ask Jesus for the gift of courage and see what he has to say? After praying and really discerning and checking out places, she's enrolled at NYU, New York University, and that's like the place to go to be an actress, for the Broadway stuff. LA is Hollywood, but the Broadway stuff, and she was able to talk to her parents about it. But I also told her, yes, take courage. You should take a risk. You're young enough to take a risk, but minor in business. Because as a successful actress, you need to know a little bit about business. Or you might flop, but that business degree might help you later on. But it's okay. Sometimes you ask Jesus to take that courage, even if it's wrong. And the last piece is the courage not to give in. If you look at the story of Daniel, Daniel stood in on a conviction of his faith to pray to God, in spite of the consequences of being thrown into a den of lions and facing punishment. I know a friend, she's got this addiction to shopping, especially online shopping. Do you like to shop? No, nobody shops here. No. Only for the aftermath little food sale. That's the only thing you're going to do. No, online shopping. That's a big problem. It's addiction. And when I talk to her, she's like, "Oh, Steve, this is such a good deal. Such a good deal. It is on sale. Normally it's like this price, but it's 40% sale, and it's not even Black Friday. It's we're in July, we're in August. I have to buy this." Do you have to buy that? The best kind of sale is something that you don't buy, because that's 100% off. You never bought it in the first place. Correct? And I said, you know what? Seems like this is like an issue here, huh? And of course, you do whatever you want with your money, but you're buying all these things. Like how many handbags do you actually need? Yeah, husbands, don't ask that to the. But I don't know. So I asked her, hey, why don't you ask Jesus the gift of courage not to give in, not to give in. So she put the word courage in her on her cell phone, the wallpaper. So before she clicks on Amazon, one-click buy, it's like, oh, courage, I am sinking. Help. There's many different examples of courage. If school starting up, so maybe if you're a kid, the courage to confront a bully. Maybe you've had dealing with friend drama, bully issue the whole year. Somewhere you have some time off. Now you got to go back and confront this bully. The courage to open up, courage to be vulnerable. Maybe the courage to be honest. Courage to try something new, courage to listen, courage to take accountability, courage to love others, courage to love yourself, whatever it is. This week, ask Jesus for that gift of courage, because if you just say, don't be afraid, you're going to be afraid. That's why Jesus says, before do not be afraid, he says, take courage, it is I, do not be afraid. So ask Jesus, what kind of courage do I need most at this moment? Maybe it's the courage to face the past. Maybe it's the courage to deal with some impossible situations, or courage to take a risk, or courage to not give in, but to take one small, courageous step, trusting that even if we fall, Jesus will be there to pick us up.